Hey.
I was sitting here and I looked up and all of a sudden your
Sorry, hang
face.
on. There you are. Sorry, I had you muted.
Oh,
How are you?
good. How are you?
Good. Were you painting?
Okay. Well, I have a cat that likes to scratch at my door frame. So there's wood missing. So I was like, you know what? Instead of just filling it in, I'm gonna take off all the paint. So yeah, I'm kind of in this week's like my room redo.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like doing my hardwood floors this week and stuff.
You're doing the hardwood floors.
Yeah. We're gonna see how it turns out. My dad works a lot, so he's gonna do the cutting and I'm gonna do the assembling.
Yeah. How do you learn how to do that? Or is he gonna like help you through it, or did you know already?
He kind of told me it's gonna be a learning experience for sure.
That's cool though. That's good.
Yeah, so since I have this whole week off of work, since this is spring break, I planned on going somewhere. And since that's not happening, I was like, it's perfect timing to, yeah. So.
Welcome, Destyni.
Is she here?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Where are you planning on going?
I was gonna go camping with my family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's kind of hard to do.
Right on. Destyni, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm good.
That's good.
Took the time to get ready and do something that's in my norm, and I think that helped a lot.
What was that for?
Huh?
For what? What was that for? That you got ready?
To get ready, so I looked not like a naked mole rat on because that was the vibe.
I think Annie's favorite part about these things is that I actually like shower and get ready instead of just walking around in my pajamas.
Yeah, I finally unpacked, like I said, I unpacked my dorm and everything and put it in my room. And so that gave me initiative to do something, and it just.
So that sign's cute back there. Is it destined to be a McGuire?
Yes. Yeah, that was for my engagement party over the summer.
Very cool.
Yes.
Well, just so you know, we're already recording, so I guess the podcast is officially started. It's really, obviously, as you saw with Patterson, it's very low-key, just kind of like informal conversational. The hope is to try to get 30 minutes, which I don't think we'll have any issues with. Yeah. But I also don't want to keep you guys here forever, so we'll just kind of be mindful of that. So I think a good way to start is just to kind of like fill us in. What's been going on with you two? Deliela, we'll go in alphabetical order. Do you want to start?
It's been different. It's hard. This is definitely hard to adapt to. It's just so out of the norm.
In what ways?
I'm so used to seeing people socializing, and I'm here stuck with my family, and not in a bad way. I enjoy it because I don't get to spend a lot of time with my family because of school and work. So it's nice to have this, but I went to the store the other day to get a couple groceries, and I picked up some sleepy time tea because I was like, if I'm going to be here with my family, I'm going to put myself to sleep early.
Has that been tough, the sleeping part? Because it's been, for me, I've been staying up later and sleeping.
Today, my plan was to get up early and start everything, and I slept till about 1.
Oh, geez, good for you.
12:30ish, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was finally getting sleep though. No, definitely the falling asleep. It's been hard. I stay up longer. I'm like, well, I don't have school in the morning, so here's another episode. Right. Yeah, but things are good.
And who's you said your family? Who's all with you?
So my dad, my mom, and then my 2 sisters. So my older sister and then my younger sister. So my older sister's out of work now because she is a hairstylist, and then my little sister's out of school. So I have everybody here. And
any updates on the AeroPress?
No, I'm still trying to convince them. They're considering it. If they don't want to, I'll just buy it anyways. My mom yelled at me today, actually, because she was like, can you please just start making a pot of coffee instead of 7 K-cups throughout the day? And I was like, no, I should. I was like, well, maybe I'll buy the AeroPress and then get my single cup of coffee every time I want it.
Maybe if we have time, which I'm sure we will, I'll get the AeroPress over here and I'll walk you through how to make a cup of coffee. Yeah, I'll show you how to do it. What's your K-cup? What's your coffee on K-cup that you go to?
whatever is in our K-cup, the little
Whatever's
thing.
there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like the double shot, whatever's in there, or morning breakfast blend. Yeah, I have coffee right now. It's 5 o'clock. I shouldn't be
Really?
drinking coffee. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm awaiting a coffee run because I haven't had caffeine in 2 days and I have a headache.
You have caffeine in 2 days or coffee in 2 days?
Any caffeine or coffee, nothing in like the past 2 days, and I'm slowly going insane.
I don't know why what you said reminded me of my run, but I have to add my run today. I just finished, so I need to add that before I forget. So I'm not being rude. I'm just looking at it to get that going. Destyni, how about you? What's going on?
I'm adapting, I think. My mom is home because she's a library tech at elementary school here.
You froze.
She's struggling with trying to adapt to being home all day. And like, I think of being home and I'm like, okay, I'm here for the weekend. So I was thinking like, what time do I have to get up to drive back to Turlock? Like, I was thinking of all the things and stuff. And then, no, I don't know. It's just been a huge adjustment.
Where are you? Are you back home now, Madeira?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm moving out the second half of my dorm, I think on Wednesday.
Okay. And that's it though. Once that's done, you're done.
Once that's done, I'm done.
You're officially out of Stan unless we have some kind of graduation.
Yeah. And my graduation dress that I got like 2 months ago is just taunting me in my closet.
Well, you never know. Maybe they'll figure out something to do.
Yeah.
I hope they do. It is like we've talked about already. It's just a weird thing to, like Annie's going through it too. And I don't think she was extremely excited about commencement, but I think she's excited about it, obviously. So having to deal with that.
And then I feel like I don't have time to really like think about it because then I'm trying to get like Fresno State's credential stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to navigate all that. It's been a lot. But.
Have you been able to communicate with Fresno State yet?
I'm supposed to have a meeting tomorrow with one of their advisors that I was supposed to call today that I forgot to. But I'll just have to send her an email just to verify. But I don't know. I mean, it's been pretty okay. I was super late to getting my fingerprints done.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just hoping that that's kind of processed a little faster. But.
How are you guys as far as like your online classes? How many classes are you taking now, and how so this is going to be on YouTube public, so you probably don't want to mention any like professors' names and stuff, but just a heads up. But like, how is that transition going? Is it easy? Is it difficult? What's going on with that?
Well, I think for me, my chem class was already really hard to, do in the first place in person. So having that online now is kind of difficult, especially because it's like readings that you're expected to do, and then we're going to have like quizzes and stuff on those. So it's like already kind of hard with that. Same thing for my geography class. But the only one I actually have like the motivation and like look forward to is my English class because it's Dr. Patterson.
Right.
And, yeah, but I think having that, my first class of the day, makes transitioning into the other two a lot easier. It's difficult though, not having that like face-to-face interaction with those professors to actually, understand the coursework and whatnot and ask questions. Yeah, it's just different.
I've heard from 2 of my professors, so.
Only how many classes are you taking?
Me?
Yeah.
I think just 3.
3 classes?
I hope 3. I can't think of anything else.
Hopefully there's not another one that you forgot about. But two professors have reached out.
No, 4. There was one I forgot about.
And only 2 have reached out to you?
I haven't heard from 2 of them. Like just an email.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was just like, oh yeah, we're not coming to campus. We'll figure it out. And then we haven't figured it out.
Well, yeah, I think, like I said, I think Annie's has similar experiences. But hopefully, fingers crossed, the mindset is that once spring break's over with, then, here's what we'll do or whatever. But yeah, I think we should be communicating.
Moved their exam to, it was supposed to be the Monday, supposed to be last Monday. And she was just like, no, we're going to move it to after spring break. You guys have been going through way too much. And I was like, thank you so much for realizing this.
Yeah. That was actually a question I wanted to ask, but before we get there, Deliela, have you heard any of the podcasts yet from 3009? Any of the work that Destyni did?
No, I
So
haven't.
Destyni, if you're okay with it, I would love to just play the intro that you created so people could hear this.
Oh,
Does that
here's
work?
my voice. This is awful.
You can mute it if you want to.
Oh no, I'm just gonna stick through it.
Okay, let's see if this works or not. Hopefully it was.
I feel myself sweating.
It's just like pure fear in your face.
Before even going into the podcast, like I was just terrified of everything. And I'm like, I hate my voice. So like I'd record it. Like,
You're talking over the podcast. Can you hear it?
No.
You can't hear it? Oh, sorry. It's playing on mine. I was like, no, this is her way of not being able to hear it. How can I play it then? Sorry, I thought you were intentionally doing that.
No.
So you didn't hear any sound from that?
Mm-mm.
I know I could do. I'll put it on my phone because that's not connected at all. Sorry, Delilah or Destyni, what were you saying?
I don't remember.
They wanted her voice for her intro.
I'm trying to ignore
One day walking down the
voice.
stairs, you're telling me how to record it so many times, and listening to it back was so hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
How many times did you record it?
The intro?
Yeah.
There were about 6.
Oh, okay.
There were about 6 different intros, and then finally I was just like, we played the one with one of the producers in there, and I was like, it's that one. I want that one. That one sounds best, in my opinion, and I could actually tolerate my voice the most.
So let's see if this works then, so we can hear the best.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the first season of Stanislaus State's Writing for Teachers podcast. I am your host, Destyni Ellis, and today I'll be sitting down with students from Mr. Ashmun's LIDS 3009 class and discussing their research as it pertains to writing within the field of education.
Little music.
Let's go ahead and get right into it.
Oh, God.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, good. Why are you so worried about it?
I hate my voice. Everything about it, I just hate my voice on recording.
No, I know what you mean. Not your voice, but I feel the same way. Like when you listen to something, it's like, oh my God.
Because I have the same group that the only like one podcast, I think it was like episode 3 or group 3 that we were able to get. They had me download it on my desktop too. So I actually had that. And I was FaceTiming my mom like the day that they had me download it. And I was like, listen to this. And she's like, oh my gosh, you sound so good. And I'm like, obligated to say that you're my mom. But I was like, I really sound like this. Why hasn't anyone told me?
No, I thought it sounded good. And, Annie, who's a connoisseur of podcasts, I shared it with her the other day, and she was very impressed with how well it went. So I won't play the outro too because I don't want to kill you by showing too much, but I thought that was a good outro as well.
Thanks. Thank you.
Good job. Should we talk about the podcast at all? How devastated we are with that, or should we just leave it alone?
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
Because I'm upset.
Yeah.
But I think it was it wasn't a good thing to happen, but it was nice to like kind of learn to prevent it for next semester or for like any other time that you do want to do it.
Yeah. The only thing besides the obvious, but what I was thinking about too is like, since you've already gone through it now, and like it would be good if you were still here another semester. Unfortunately, you're not, but fortunately for you, you're not too. But I'm gonna have to figure out a host to do that, because I was thinking about, I can go in and do it, but I think it's better and you tell me, but I think it's better for students to have like another student be the host.
The moment you stepped in to sit down and listen to us, the whole dynamic changed.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because it's like the relationship of a professor to like the student, you know.
Right. No, you can feel that too. Like when I was there, it's like, okay, well, I want to leave so they can get back to normal, but at the same time, I don't want to like just show up for a minute and be like that absent father who's like, oh yeah, I was here, and then gone really quick.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's definitely important that it's a student more than anything else.
So probably, I know you're probably gonna be in Fresno, but I'll probably lean on you as far as when I do find that person, they can connect with you and you can help them through that position.
Well, I mean, a drive to Turlock isn't anything.
Oh yeah.
My mom wants to say hi.
I don't know if she's, we have to pay her now. Hi. We have to pay you and then put you on the list for the credits. What's your mom's name?
Diane.
Diane, it was nice meeting you. Where'd you go?
She ran away.
Why?
I don't want to stay on there too long. Hi, nice to meet you.
You too. Do you know Deliela?
No.
This
Hi, Delilah.
Hi.
That's a lovely name.
Thank you.
So how are you doing as a parent of a child who's going through these issues?
Well, I'm going to start crying.
I can.
I get my emotions from my mom.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to answer that. You can answer something happier if you like.
I'm just glad that we're all healthy right now.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to help out the community and stay inside as much as we can.
Good for you.
You know, it's difficult.
Yeah, because how many are in the household?
Just the three of us. My son moved out the 1st of February, got married February 22nd. So, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. So what's the schedule like for, I'm just thinking about my own as far as like, it's just the two of us, but like shopping, and because obviously it sounds like you're on the same page as me where you need to stay home, right? You don't need to be going out and doing all these things. And we wish other people were as smart as the two of us.
Yeah. And the social distancing, you know, I mean, I went to the store the other day and, you know, this family had on their masks and everything, but they were like, you know, just inches away from me.
Right.
And I wanted to say something, but without being rude.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
Well, it is too. It seems like we're, at least in my own opinion, it's hard to say anything to anybody now anyways. That's like, you're not negative, but like trying to tell them not to do something because it's like, you're not allowed to tell me anything or whatever. And so you just kind of.
Right. And people take it differently.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a real art to be able to say something to somebody without them getting upset about it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So what are we like, once a week shopping or what are we doing?
Yeah, I pretty much stocked up for the winter.
Oh, wow.
You know? So my canned goods, my pantry is pretty well stocked. I'm a big thing on killing germs and all that. So I had bleach. I had all that already on hand.
Yeah.
You know, I already had toilet paper.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that thing with toilet paper was just crazy.
It really was.
But I'm you know, maybe going twice a week. You know, so
when you brought up the toilet paper, I'll tell you something embarrassing that I'm really proud of at the same time though. I was trying to figure out the toilet paper situation, like just without, you know, being crazy and getting like 5, you know, baskets full of it or whatever. And you can't find it online, whatever. And I found on Office Depot, you can get, you know, like the business rolls like you'd have at the school, like those big, huge. I found that you can get 6 of them. And I think each one's 2,000 feet.
Oh gosh.
And so at the same time, and I could be wrong, but I think that the whole pack at Costco is like 1,000 or 2,000 feet, like that whole thing. And I got 6 rolls, each one being 2,000 feet. So that should be here in 3 days. And so we're going to be set.
Oh my. Yeah, you're not going to be able to find a dispenser to hold that.
No. And he goes, what are we going to do with that? And I said, we just have it there. Or we can buy one of those dispensers and we can put that in our bathroom. She's not having that.
Yeah. I kind of just feel like I'm in limbo.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I know it sounds really selfish, but the one thing that's really killing me the most is baseball.
Yeah, sports. That would probably be something that's hard on my husband too.
Yeah,
Hockey.
I mean, life goes on, but like the 26th, we were all excited about. Annie and I will cook out on opening day and have like asada tacos and guacamole and margaritas and all that stuff on opening day. And so we're excited about the 26th, and now we're 3 days away, and we're still, you know, a long way away from baseball.
Oh yeah. Well, nice meeting you both, and
You too.
Get back to it.
All right.
What?
I said, can you take 2?
Oh yes. No.
She just had 4 teeth pulled.
Oh.
And so
Your mom or the dog?
The dog.
Oh God, I thought you were talking about your mom.
Oh no, the dog. No,
That's
Tiffany
brutal.
did. So she's just been moping around and hanging out.
Tell me your dog's name again.
Her full name is Tiffany Blue.
Tiffany Blue.
L-U, no E.
You always know you're in for a treat when someone says her full name.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question I wanted to ask, I guess we'll start with this one. One of the things, can you hear the dogs? My dogs are like fighting.
A little bit, not bad.
One of the things that I talked to Annie about today, because I think it's important to be there for people, like, hey, if you need anything, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. But I also, and I'm not going to give my opinion on this, maybe I will, but there's also seems this sense of like overwhelming where people are like, I know everything's going to be okay. What can I do for you? Like, have you ever been there where like you're kind of upset, but at the same time, when someone keeps telling you that you're upset and they want to help you, it makes it worse and worse and worse. Instead of just being like, okay, here's the deal. We're in this situation. It's going to get better eventually. What can I do to help you? But then leaving it alone. I feel like I'm constantly getting emails and it's just one thing after. I almost feels like I'm busier now than when I was down at the campus teaching. And so anyways, I want to get your take on, do you feel like you are overwhelmed with people telling you they care about you and they want to help you and it's almost like too much? Or do you feel like you're in a sweet spot that people are there? Or do you feel that you don't think there's anybody there to lean on?
Do you want to go ahead, Destyni?
No.
See, I don't know. It's kind of a hard one because in terms of like getting emails and messages and stuff like that, like all the time, I look at my phone and think that I have like a text message or something, but it's Gmail telling me I have another message from CSU Stanislaus or whatever,
Yeah.
or it's a Facebook notification from whatever it is, But I feel like what's overwhelming is all the stuff that's on like social media and stuff like that, and everyone's just constantly focused on the negative part, and everyone's like, so and so, like this many people have died, or this is what's going on, and there's no like there's no positive aspect to anything that's going on. But like, I don't know, I think personally for me, I just always try to find that positive. So like everyone's just like has all this negative stuff. I'm getting all this, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, but it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Everyone's going through all of it. So it's kind of like hard for one person to sit here and say all this stuff to you. And then you're like, well, you're in the same situation. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to go to the grocery store. We're all trying to get better. Like, we're trying to do our part. And it's like, I don't know.
That's interesting because I noticed that's something I noticed about you as far as like your online presence on Slack is like you posted things that are look at like the Venice one, right? Like the canals you can actually see in the water now. And I think there's even dolphins coming through there now and fish and all that stuff. So I think that's an important perspective to take on. So I appreciate that about you. But I'm very happy I'm not on Facebook or Instagram or any of those things because Annie shares stuff with me sometimes and it's just like ignorant, like what people are doing and saying, and it's terrifying. And then my dad will call and talk about, this person did this at the grocery store. We just talked last night and I was telling him, and I mean, he knows, but I was telling him like, don't get caught up in those like anomalies, those rare things that happen because I've gone to the grocery store 2 or 3 times since this happened and everybody's fine and actually I shouldn't say that. One time someone cussed at someone, but it's like we're like you said, we're all just trying to get through this and get by. But I think if we just surround ourselves with like social media where it's negative, then we start getting this really like unrealistic picture of what's taking place.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. It made me the other day I was at Safeway and it made me think of This Is Water. Talking about in the grocery store, and I got my friend to go to Safeway with me in Turlock because the stores, like we have 2 stores in Patterson, so it's like you don't have a lot of options and everything's gone. So we're in Safeway and we're just looking at the frozen foods and this lady comes storming down the aisle and she's screaming, cussing up a storm. Oh, the dog.
Sorry.
Like cussing up a storm, like yelling on the phone. And like, I just looked and I was like, some people are just crazy. Like we're all here for the same thing. When one person acts like that, then another person acts like that. And it's just this ripple effect of like nasty attitude. I hate it. It's hard to go out in public when that's what you're dealing with.
And that's the thing I've talked to people about is like the thing that scares me the most, I think in life, I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but like the mob mentality of humans. I've been around different situations where you're talking to, people that are normal, educated people or have common sense. And then something happens where like the group starts doing something and you just see them completely shift and go into that mob mentality. And that to me is one of the most terrifying things. And so these kind of things that happen like this, like, and you start seeing the media with people taking toilet paper and getting in fights and that kind of stuff. It's like, it's not a good side of humanity that that is being exposed. And unfortunately, that's what people want to watch, is like that sensationalism, rather than let's go see, like, let's point out how Deliela posted something nice on Slack, you know, like that's not going to get viewers on KCRA.
Right. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like the toilet paper thing, the baby wipes thing. One of my dad's coworkers at the new job that he's working at, he has like I don't know how old the baby is, but can't find baby wipes anywhere. So we were at Save Mart the other day, just like getting some basic things, and my sister saw down one of the aisles there was like a 3-pack of baby wipes, so she bought some for one of her coworkers and then for my dad's coworker, because they can't find baby wipes anywhere. It's just like the basic necessities that some people need for their kids.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep. Destyni?
I don't think I'm being like really surrounded by people that are like overly positive of the situation, I guess. I don't know. I feel bad to say this. I'm just getting really tired of hearing about it. Because like my mom has been like, she turns on the news anytime. It's like breaking news, update. And then we have like, our local ones that's like, okay, Madera, like cases rise up 3 people now. And it's like, okay, I don't want to hear about this anymore. Like I want to be back in my like little bubble of like, I know everything's gonna like get okay better like in the next few months hopefully. And like my 6-year-old nephew was over here yesterday. We were playing baseball outside and he's just like, this corona needs to leave. And I'm like, you're right. Like I don't know, it's just, I'm getting tired of it. And I feel bad saying that, but I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of just like seeing it on the news all the time. And it's like too much for me.
No, it is. Like that's to kind of connect with that. That's like at night when we're trying to watch something on TV or whatever, like I'll put on, if there's nothing on YouTube TV, then I'll like go through YouTube and see if there's anything interesting. And there's like this whole block of like the news and coronavirus and this and this and this. And I immediately like skip over that. Like I'm good. I know that I'm hunkering down. I'm staying here until I hear something positive saying, okay, you can get out and go do stuff. Yeah. It could be overwhelming. What you mentioned about your mom turning it on, that reminded me of, so at home when I used to live with my dad, he'd always have the news on, and like, you know, like everybody else probably, you start getting upset watching the news, and then you're wondering like, well, why do you have that on in the first place if you're screaming at the news and getting upset with it?
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's just trying to manage. And I think that's the way of doing it, is like turning off social media, you should check the news, right? Like once a day probably, to kind of see what's going on and get updates, but not just sitting there being surrounded by it constantly.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to mention was this. Speaking of YouTube, I watched Joe Rogan, obviously. I forget who I was talking to. One of my students, I think it was one of my students, said, if you ever want to talk to a guy about anything, just tell him that you watched the Joe Rogan podcast the other day, and he'll talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. So I feel weird every time I bring it up. But there's a Navy SEAL on their night, and one of the things he talked about was how during, like, you guys know what Hell Week is in the Navy SEALs. People talk about, well, how do you get through that? Because it's this crazy week of no sleep and blah, blah, blah. And he said that he learned to chunk things out, so to take a little at a time. And he realized that they feed you every 6 hours because they have to feed you every 6 hours. So instead of thinking of the whole Hell Week, he broke it into chunks of 6 hours. Let me just get to my next meal, and then let me get to my next meal, let me get to my next meal. And because the way to describe that, he said, it's kind of like if you get a pie, and if someone told you you had to eat the whole pie, it would feel overwhelming. But if you just took little slices out of that pie and went after it that way, it's not as overwhelming. And it reminded me of kind of the situation we're in now. Is like, if I sit here and think about, let's say, the president comes on and says we're going to be here for 3 months quarantine, then it's like, oh my God, that's really overwhelming. But if you think about, okay, well, let me just get to breakfast, or let me get through this day, or whatever it is, then it's more doable. So I was going to see what you guys thought about that. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that?
Yeah.
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 Do you want to go, Destyni? You want to go ahead?
I'm like, that's like how I try to look at things whenever like I'm running and stuff. It's like, okay, like let's get through this next like half mile, or get through the next whole mile. And then it's like, okay, I'm only, if I'm running 4 and I'm at like a 2 mile mark, okay, I only have 2 more to go. That's only like this half mile. And so it's like the way I try to like break it down and everything, it makes it easier to get it done rather than like, oh my gosh, I still have like 2 more miles I have to run. Let's just break it down into smaller increments that like seem better.
Right. That's funny. That's the exact same thing. I was talking to Annie about the exact same thing she said, where it's like, oh, it's only 2 more minutes. Just do this for 2 more minutes. And then, okay, now I just need to do 2 more minutes or whatever. So I think that's a good example. By the way, before
I look at life that way so much.
What's that?
It's like, I don't think I look at like life in like the series of events. Like it's always just like, okay, I look forward to the weekend. Okay. It's Wednesday, we're halfway there kind of thing. But that's only because I want to go home, but now I'm home. I don't have anywhere else. Like, I am not a homebody. So this is where it's like really stressing me out.
Because you want to get out?
Like, I need to go to Target. Like, I need to go to Target.
Yeah.
And not for anything. I just need to walk around, but I don't want to walk around right now.
So here's what I did yesterday, because I am a homebody, and like I have no problem staying home for a week or whatever. Like I realized the other day I was home for like 4 or 5 days straight without going anywhere. But yesterday I felt like you need to go do something, like you need to get out. So I just took a drive, and because you can drive around, like there's nobody else, you're not running into people, hopefully. And so I went out, got in the freeway, and then went to Staniford and Beckwith, and then just took Beckwith all the way out until it dead end. So I went out to the country and just drove and listened to music. And it was nice because then you just got to, there's nobody around, and you can just like chill for a little while. So that's one suggestion I would throw out there. Is it Tiffany Blue?
Conversation about me driving.
What's that?
I said we had a conversation about me and driving. And
yeah, I know, because you're talking about speeding and being road rage.
Go for a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've been trying to go take Tiffany out for walks and stuff and everything, but then it's been raining here.
I just put Tiffany Blue together with the Tiffany jewelry. That took me a while. Yeah, good job, me. Deliela.
Oh, back to what we were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with it, but I also think that there's the other side to it where everything, if you look to, I don't know, it's just every day something new is happening. It's changing. You hear one thing, and then 1 minute they're like, you're going to be quarantining for 3 months, and the next people, they're like, no, it's going to be a year. It's just everything's changing day by day, and we don't really know. Like, you're going to go to bed knowing one thing, and you wake up, and it's a different thing. So I kind of just think about it like that. Like, you kind of have to take it as, like, it is what it is, and just go with it. Like, roll with the punches. I saw this quote yesterday on Instagram. And excuse the word, but it says you have to have that it is what it is mindset, let shit be, and continue to keep yourself together no matter what life hits you with. And I feel like that's kind of the situation we're in. Like, you just got to keep going. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
I have trips planned this summer, and I might not get to go on those, but then I'm just thinking about it in like the sense of, well, I can save that money and go on another trip next summer. Like, yeah, I'm trying to take it day by day.
It's so funny, Deliela. Like, I know I said this before, but you, how old are you?
19.
You act like, honest to God, like you're 30, 40 years old, like your mindset and perspective, because that is like, I would probably guess that a lot of 19-year-olds don't have that perspective. They're probably like yelling at their mom about, I wanted to go here and now I can't go here, or whatever the case. So like, it's really cool to see. But the other thing that you brought up was kind of what I was driving at a little bit with my previous question, this idea of like, it's kind of a teaching question too, because a lot of times I think teachers are so focused on, I need to support my students and I need to help them. And hopefully you guys know by now that's how I feel too. But I think sometimes we get so caught up in that it's almost like a negative if the student's not also thinking, okay, I appreciate that this person's doing this, but I also need to like be active and I need to take on some responsibility. And I think if students go through like K-16 and all of their teachers are like, oh, what can I do for you, Deliela? Like, I need to help you. Let me, and it's at some point, it almost feels like, well, once I'm on my own, can I take care of myself, or am I always just expecting someone to help me? And so I'm trying to battle that myself with this quarantine, where it's like, I want to reach out and make sure students are okay, but at the same time, I don't want to be like so overwhelming that it's like, well, I need someone to hold my hand or walk me through this. It's like, I think it's a positive to be able to say, it is what it is. Let's roll with it. Let's go on. And I think that's a really good perspective. So again, I don't know if that's a question, but if you guys have any thoughts on, do you agree with that, disagree with that, or have had any experiences with that?
You know, when I think about it, I think about kind of my past teachers, which are like a good small select few of them are like the reason I want to be an educator and all of that. And I think about them, and I don't know if it's just me, like the person I am, the person I've just grown up to be, but I like look back and think about it, and like they were always there, but they were never holding your hand. They were never like picking you up and putting you back up on your pedestals, like giving you like the stepping stones, like the smaller step stools to get back up to your, you know, to get back up to that spot. And I think it also has to do with like my parents and like their support for me and like how they raised me. So it's never really been a very these people are holding my hand. It's more like we were in it together and we were like almost holding each other's hand, you know? And I think that's kind of one of the things I think about in terms of like how I want to be as an educator, like the person I want to be for my students. I kind of think about like I want to be that person who's there to like pick them up and pat them on the back, but also, you know, kind of they need to understand that it's going to need to be like the same thing. They need to reverse that, you know, and kind of not only do that like with me, but like their classmates and like other people in the world. Kind of, I don't know, I just think I've had a really good positive like educational experience that like that's helped, you know, kind of create that mindset of like reciprocating like the same, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's important. I was thinking about that same reciprocity idea of like, we're doing this, we're in this together, we're doing this together. And it's complicated too though, because, you know, let's say like I have 25 students in 3009, and let's say 17 of those have everything they need, all their needs fulfilled. And then my math's gonna, 6 of them are kind of in the middle, and then 2 of them have nothing and are really in need. It's like, well, you have to figure out who those students are, and, you know, what if they don't want to ask for help, even though they really need the help. And so I think it's a really complicated issue too when you're teaching, because each student has their own thing going on too, and trying to navigate that. Destyni?
To kind of go back to like Delilah's like family and everything, how they kind of didn't like hold, you said that they kind of didn't hold your hand in a sense, right? Like I don't want to like.
Well, no, it was more that like my parents never held my hand. They kind of expected me to do it on my own, but when I wasn't able to get to that point, they were there like for the support, you know?
Because like, so my brother was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 6, and he is 6 years older than me, so I wasn't born yet. But growing up with that, they really did everything to like pave his way. Like they did everything for him. I mean, earlier today, he's married, living in his own apartment, and my dad called him and was like, okay, so I need to go help you set up like the TV. And Dylan was just like, I think I can do it on my own. But like for me, growing up, I kind of saw how they treated my brother, and I was like, okay, I don't want them to have to look out for me so much. So I made sure I was very like independent and could do things on my own. But then I realized like I was taking on too much. I mean, as both of you have seen, I take on too much. And then it's like I need someone to kind of like help balance this weight a little bit. So then it's like I go to, you know, I've gone to you in the few weeks that we had, and it's like I had Chessie Interlock too, and it was like all these people that I'd be like, okay, I need you to kind of help me a little bit. But it was like I had to kind of swallow my pride of being so super independent and just be like, hey, I need help. Like I need someone's help. How can I get through this? How can we get through this kind of a situation? But I definitely want to kind of be like that future educator that's trying to be more like cognizant of everyone. And I know that that's hard, you know, because you have the students that aren't explicitly saying like, help me. But I feel like I've seen it in me. Like I've seen the signs ish of things, and it's like, okay, let's try to like troubleshoot. Is how I just kind of like see it.
I think that's a good, the question I want to ask too, that based off what you guys said, is if you're, based on your experience right now with everything that's going on, if you could tell your teachers, your professors, anything as far as advice is like how to best support you, what would you tell them?
Oh geez. be more understanding of like the situations, because I mean, the deadlines as if they were still the same, and the exams and the papers and everything, it's like, okay, but the situation's completely changed. We're trying to get Tiffany out of my room because she won't stop crying.
It sounded like a baby earlier.
Yeah, that was Tiffany. But I think it's like my Tuesday, Thursday class, everything's still the same. We still meet at 9:30 to 10:45. We still have the same amount of like work, if not more, because we have more assignments due every single time we're supposed to meet. And it's just like, but I'm home, and now I'm having to take care of my nephew sometimes, and I'm having to do this. And I just, my biggest thing was just like, please be more understanding with everything that's going on.
What would be like I don't want to say that. I was going to say a specific example, but I think specifics would get too much into like calling people out. But I think you gave us a good sense of what you mean.
Because like one of my other classes, I think it's similar to kind of how you have both Lives 1000 and 3009 set up, is where it's like, okay, this due date is just at the end of the week by 11:59, you know, like something like that, where it's more at the end of the week. And I had a classmate pointed out whenever we were still in face-to-face classes that it was just like, I have now, because my kids are out of school, I have to take care of my children, and I'm trying to figure out what my work schedule's like, you know, because those aren't still the same as they were whenever we were in a face-to-face class.
I think that's really interesting. I bet you some professors are saying, well, they signed up for a 9:30 to 10:45 class, so they need to that's the expectation. But I never thought about that. That's a good point. That when I signed up for that, I also signed up to be there in person, and I also signed up with my child going to school at this time or whatever, and all those things have changed. So I think that's an important thing for teachers and professors to understand. Whenever
my classmate said that, my professor just looked at her and was just like, I would have never, like, of all the things I would have factored in, it would have never been that. Yeah. And I was just like, I mean, I didn't think about it because that's not a concern for me. Right. But for the two other people that it applied to in the class, it helped them, Yeah. I mean.
Before Deliela goes, can you, and I want to ask Deliela the same thing, but what apps, software, like what kind of learning management, LMS, learning management systems are you using now in your classes? So Slack is one. Just because of us.
Well, Slack for your classes. Honestly, they're just using Blackboard.
Oh, okay.
And emailing. Okay. We use different things for like turning assignments in, but some of them are on Blackboard, some of them are on Turn It In, some of them are just email to me, and it's just like following those and trying to stay organized with that is a little chaotic, but yeah.
Which I'm gonna share my screen towards the end here and I want to show two things. One of them is Notion, which I mentioned on Slack today. I just want to show students what it looks like and kind of how I use it. Deliela, what's your thoughts? You want me to tell you the question again?
No, the first question? Yeah. I just think that understanding is probably one of them, but I think it's on both parts, like not only students or professors understanding students, but students understanding professors, because a lot of these professors haven't had to teach online like this before. Like my geography professor, he's like, I think he said 70 something years old, and like now he's trying to figure out how to use Blackboard. So there's a different person in the department helping him run his class through Blackboard. So it's like understanding it's not only us who's going through it and like having to deal with like we signed up for these face-to-face classes, but it's like they also were teaching face-to-face classes. And I think most of my professors have been pretty understanding. Like my chem professor canceled our exam that would have been that last week of school. My geography one got postponed. And then like Dr. Patterson's been like very understanding and like trying to keep the norm of like morning writings and stuff like that. So like they're understanding that it's different for us right now. But I don't know, I still think like they're supporting us and like they understand what we're going through because we're all trying to do it, But I think kind of bouncing off what Destyni said, like the coursework, it sometimes feels like now we're being given more work than we were when we were actually in school. And then it's like, oh, I'm checking this and this and this, and then now this assignment's popping up, and something for like Libs 2000, like the case study part. Like, how am I going to do a case study now when I don't have that student? So I think he's trying to still figure out like how to edit the assignments to make it, fit for our new circumstances, But in terms of like softwares and apps, it's pretty much been like for Patterson, it's Moodle and Slack because she got into Slack now. Which I love because it's more laid back and it's like nice because we all send pictures on there and like talk back and forth on there.
That makes me happy.
Yeah. And then Blackboard for my other classes, and then Slack obviously for like Libs and Dean's team. But I personally use like to keep myself organized is like my Google Calendar. Just since it connects to all my Google applications that I use on there, like Google Docs and stuff. And then like my planner full of all my stuff going on. Like, yeah, my planner, my notebook has like crazy stuff written all over and all my deadlines and stuff like that. And it's kind of different because I've had to go in and change my calendars for the rest of the year because everything was like set up with all these due dates and stuff like that and exam dates, and now those are all different. So I'm trying to keep myself organized with that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I looked down and I noticed we started like a little before 5 and it's 5:41. So we obviously got our 30 minutes. If you guys are both okay with this, what I want to do is share my screen and go through 2 things real quick, Notion and then Google Scholar. And if you want to zone out while I'm doing this, you can. But if you have questions while I'm going through it, please let me know. I'm going to try to go through it quickly since it's already 40 minutes in. But also, so when I'm done, I want to come back to all 3 of us. And that way, if you want to add anything that you didn't get to add or you thought of something that you want to share, that'll be the time for that. Cool? Okay, so please feel free to ask questions or say this sucks or that it's good or whatever. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is Notion. And so this is just something I was playing around with today, but this is how I used it prior. I was using it for like my lit review for the dissertation, and this was when I had a different topic. And then now for my dissertation, this is kind of how I'm using it to stay organized. But it's almost like, have you guys heard of Notion before?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a way to just kind of organize, but it's aesthetically pleasing. Like I think it just visually it looks better, and it acts like a web page. So this was my lit review initially talking about relationships, and so I had all these different pages you can go to. So for example, what are the attributes of a student relationship? I can click on that and it takes me to all the stuff that I uploaded. So files, different elements and who wrote them. So you can click on stuff and or it should, used to. There we go. And it'll take you to that actual article that you saved. So you can kind of keep it all in one spot.
Yeah.
And they had, so going back to the first page. Oh, this was, I think my favorite thing to use about it. I had a reading list. So I was going through the articles, every article that I read, and I was tagging it so that I could find it later. So attributes of relationship, feedback when it comes to student-teacher relationships, emotions, all those things. So I'd tag it and then have the authors, the year, the journal, and then the link to that actual piece. So then what's nice about that is at some point if I want to search for, let's say I'm writing a section on feedback, I can type in feedback and it gives me all the articles that I tagged with feedback as a way to kind of sort through this when you start having 150 citations or whatever the case. So that's a good way of using it. And now with my dissertation, like chapter 1 obviously needs some work. Chapter 2, these are the way I'm breaking down chapter 2. And so it has the different readings that I'm using there for each one. So it's kind of a way I was thinking when students were talking about trying to figure out how to like manage this online time with all the different things going on, Notion came to mind as a way to maybe organize yourself to get a good sense of what's going on. And so this is a template that Notion came up with called course schedule. And so I just started kind of playing around with it and punching things in, but you can change these different tabs. So for example, I can put Libs 3009 and then start putting like assignments in here and when they're due. And then my next class, Chem 1000, and then lay it all out so it's in one spot and you can link things to it. So if I think if students are struggling trying to figure out how to stay organized, this might be a good way of doing it. The only thing I'll say is that it takes some time to get used to and play around with. So we have time, I guess, right now, though we're at home. So that's one way of going about it if you want to. And then this was when I was taking an EDD class. It was 90/70 back summer of last year. And I would just put like my presentations that I did, all the different articles we were reading. I had one page for it and kept it all there. So maybe even like you have your own page for each class that you're in and just keep all your documents there to kind of keep things organized. So that's one way I would suggest. Do you guys like that, dislike that? Questions about that?
I can see where it takes a while to get used to.
Yeah.
I like to adjust to, but nothing better to do.
And so you can change.
Person you are too.
What's that?
I think it depends on the kind of person you are too, because like I know for me, like I have 2 sets of like organizing all that stuff, and it's like I do one like electronically and I do one paper, and my paper one is like 2 sets of different things. Like the way my brain functions and works, it's like everywhere, but it makes sense in my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's something I would probably try. I just saw an app yesterday. I'm trying to find it right now. But it was like for your phone, and it has like everything. It's like a very aesthetically pleasing, like it's almost like a bullet journal, but electronically for your phone. And I think that's like one way for people to organize it, if that's like what the kind of stuff they like to look at is, like visuals and stuff.
And I think one of the things for me too, because I have a whiteboard that's I'm looking at right now in my room, and then my actual like paper planner, and I think the biggest thing for me is like being able to write it, because I'll remember that I wrote it down, but I won't remember that I went online somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's my biggest issue with Slack sometimes, is I just like I have all the notifications and then I just completely like forget about it, because it's like I don't want to be on my phone or I don't want to be on my laptop, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, that's kind of in similar fashion. One of the things that I started doing was like I would use something like this for my dissertation, and then I would start using, which I'm going to stay using, Zotero, which like, and you guys don't need to worry about this. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it's another way of logging all the different stuff that you've read, and it keeps everything, author, and it actually does that automatically for you. It has like, it can pull from the internet and plug all that information in for you. And so then if you wanted to, you can do something like this, and where's it at? So you can click like those 4 articles and then create a references page and say what kind, APA 7th edition, okay, copy to clipboard, and then you can come over here in a second.
So many tabs open.
I know, that's all my articles I'm supposed to be reading or researching. We'll get there. And then if it works right, you can paste it in and it does it for you. And so if you think about having 150 different sources, just being able to click through them and create a references out of that is really good. So that's Zotero, and that's a good one to use too. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is Google Scholar. Do you guys use Google Scholar?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't. I always just used the Stanton Library website for a long time. And then Dr. Chris Klaus over at COMS, so shout out to Dr. Klaus, shared this with us when we were in a EDD class. What I like about it is say like, so I noticed that students often, like if I assign from reactive to proactive, what they'll do is they'll read that and then they'll talk about that, which is the assignment, right? But what's good is to be able to like read that and then connect it to other things. So then do more research and say, okay, Ashmun wanted to read this, but there's other stuff I can find. So like you just type in proactive mindset, education, whatever, and then you can start seeing all these different articles that pop up that you have, that you can check out. And so let's see if there's anything that connects. So let's just say that one, that looks interesting. You can click on this and it'll take you or it'll download it apparently. So there's the article, right? And let's say that that's an article that was really beneficial and you want more stuff like that. If you click on this cited by, say this one says cited by 64, that means 64 other authors or articles cited this article in their own article. And so then you can click on that and it'll take you to those 10 articles that were cited based off that reading. So it's almost like you can go through this like rabbit hole of information that Destyni, going back to why all these tabs are open, that stuff happens, right? But that's a good way of finding a bunch of stuff. It's just a matter of not getting overwhelmed with all of that. Does that make sense? Is that useful?
Yeah.
What was the one we just read in? So like social reproduction we're talking about. So there's the book that actually it was pulled from. Look at that, cited by 7,000 other people. So that should tell you, right? Like, okay, this is something important. And then it goes through the 7,500, and we're gonna go through every single one of those right now. But this book was cited by 12,000. So in other words, you can go through and you can really find research. And then when you write your reader response or you write whatever for your professor, you can say, I looked up and I found Subtractive Schooling by Valenzuela, and what he says in there or she says is this, and this, and it just broadens your understanding and perspective of what you're reading and what's going on. So those are the two academic things I just want to throw in there. You guys have any questions or thoughts about that?
No, but I really hope that if people from class are watching this, they actually use Google Scholar and look up that kind of stuff, because I don't know what I would have done last semester if I wasn't invested in both yours and Dr. Patterson's classes, because after any day, like after anything we talked about in those classes, I was going home and like, I talked to you about it before, I was like finding TED Talks and podcasts and like other articles, and like later on in like another conversation we'll be having in that class, I'd bring it up from like 2 months ago because it just like stuck with me, and it was like the basic assignment, just the little bit of reading we did for that one assignment, and then connected to another piece that I like read about that, and then now connected 2 months later to something different.
Right. Going off of that, you reminded me of this. I talk about this with students sometimes, but like I don't have a social Twitter page like an Ashmun thing, but like I have an academic page where all I do is follow academics. And so let's say I really liked the reactive to proactive and Michael Open. So I can search Michael Open.
Oh, nice.
I'm like a professor of health promotion, blah, 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 and I can start following him. So now whenever I go to my news feed, all I see are, as of right now, who I see are academics. But what I do is like, because I'm looking at higher education right now for my dissertation and transfer, when I read an author who I really like, then I check them out and I start following them, and then they'll post stuff. There's Robin for Peloton, sorry. They'll post stuff for like Henry Garreau, Anne Lamott, and it almost like does your research for you, because they're sharing all those things already and links to cool articles and whatever the case. Plus, you with these kind of people following, you don't have that frustrating stuff to read. You have usually educated stuff to read. Okay, so any last thoughts? Because I need to go make some El Pastor tacos.
I mean, it was nice to see you guys again.
Yeah, same.
Nice. I mean, I already talk to my dog a lot, but like I'm talking to her more and waiting response more than I used to.
It's funny that you say that, because and it's really embarrassing to admit, but I don't care, I'll say it anyways. I was in my kitchen the other evening, and it was like late, and so I thought no one was in the living room, and I have both my dogs in the kitchen, and I'm making a sandwich, and I started talking to my dogs about what kind of sandwich they would be if they were a sandwich. And like 20 minutes later, my sister gets up and she's laughing at me. I was like, what? She goes, what kind of sandwich would you be, Daisy? I'm just trying to entertain myself now. Like I need somebody to talk to. So I definitely agree. It was nice being able to talk to you guys, because it's like not having that every Wednesday conversation in the office.
I miss the coffee. Oh, I just need coffee.
We're drinking a lot of coffee at the house. So what I need to know what the dogs would be if they were sandwiches. How'd they answer?
I decided for them. So I think my dog Daisy would be like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because she's pretty basic, you know. She's just there hanging out. And my dog Teddy, I feel like she'd be like a hot pastrami sandwich.
Hot pastrami.
I don't know why, but that was just, that's what I was getting from them. So.
Very nice. Do you guys have I know Tiffany's around, but Delilah, do you have your dogs around?
No, it was funny when you're going through Google Scholar. I'm in our den right now, and it's connected to like it's off the side of the house. So through the window, my dog was sitting here just looking at me. But no, they're somewhere.
I want to see if Kona. River's is sleeping. Kona, come here.
I'm just texting Conlon right now because he just brought me coffee. I was like, bring me Tiffany. Because I showed Conlon loves labs. And I showed him Kona, and he was just like, oh my God. And I showed him the profile picture on Slack, freaking out.
I miss Nuevo.
I know.
Oh, I know.
We got some pictures the other day, though.
I followed her Instagram, Kayla's Instagram page for like her Razor page that she has for the dogs, and there was like a little update about Nuevo on there.
Nice.
It made me happy. I was like, oh, the good boys.
Alrighty. Well,
I got to talk to you guys.
Thank you. I'm going to stop recording. It's not going to leave the meeting, though. I'm just going to stop recording.
Okay.